So jumping into today's lesson plan, Grant and I want to give you all a tool to help mentees communicate about their needs. So this seems like a simple topic, but what we wanted to do is break it down for all of you and give you a simple 1, 2, 3 for helping somebody that you've just made a connection with eventually get to the point where they're really comfortable asking for the things that they need or setting boundaries or just coming to terms with their experience. And this can be a PCS patient or caregiver or CTE caregiver. We developed this lesson plan just for those of you who would be curious through the Mentor National Mentoring Partnership based on their elements of effective practice for mentoring, which is research-based mentoring best practices. And we adapted it for CLF's needs. Grant and I attended a great summit earlier this year, and they really are an excellent, well-funded organization. So we are very happy to be able to incorporate a lot of the lessons that we learned from them in how to become a more effective volunteer. So for today's lesson, we want you guys to take away this 1, 2, 3. We want to take away how to understand, how to help mentees understand their challenges and needs. Next step is help them organize their challenges and needs. And then the final step is to bring it all together and help them communicate their needs. So breaking that down a little bit further here, Grant, you can take it away on understanding.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So for step 1 of understanding, we really want to, as many of you have been, put ourselves in our mentee's shoes. So whether we're a spouse looking after a husband who is living with suspected CTE, or if we're just starting our concussion journey, we may not know even where to begin or what we need. So we want to start by asking basic questions. Can you tell me your story? What are your symptoms like? How did your loved one change after these symptoms started to show? Or what treatments, assessments have you been working through? So really getting an understanding of, their basics of the injury and understanding what they're feeling. We really want them to try and feel everything so they can begin to sort out what their needs are, what their risks are, what they need to communicate. So once we get those basic questions out, we want to then empathize with their situation. So I know you guys all do this so incredibly well, having been in their shoes before, and that's what we really rely on through the mentorship program. But acknowledging their struggles and challenges, showing that you care, and that they're not alone. That's what is really the backbone of this program, is helping our mentees know that they're not alone. If they're going on week 2 of concussion recovery, year 2 of post-concussion syndrome, or year 15 of caregiving for suspected CTE, we need them to know that they're not alone and that they're not the only person going through this. This is really why we started this program, is because, we had one person in Santa Monica, California, and one person in Atlanta, Georgia, that are going through that very same experience. And for them to speak to someone else that has that same story and can relate on really a different level than maybe a coworker or a family member or parents, that means the world to them. So we really want to empathize with their situation and make sure that they know it's okay to feel how they're feeling. We really want to normalize that experience for them. And then once we do, we can speak from the heart. We can speak from our own experiences when we feel like it's appropriate to share our own experiences, share our story, where we were when we were in their timeline. And then in addition to that, you can share CLF's resources. So you can share the post-concussion syndrome or CTE resources webpage. You can share our webinars. You can share our personal stories. And it's just a way for them to know, even beyond yourself as a peer support volunteer, there is a network of support, and there's a network of people out there that know what they're going through. So we want to begin by helping them understand where they are in the world, what type of thing they're going through, because their world might have just been shaken up. And we want to try and help them understand where they're situated and how we can move on from there.
Great. Thank you, Grant. And so building off of that foundation, the next thing that we want to be doing is Once we have that level of understanding, we want to help them organize all of those elements that they've worked through with you in that preliminary basic stage by asking these big questions that help them wrap their head around their own narrative and their own story. So asking questions like, do you feel like you've changed because of this experience? Have your needs changed along the way? How has your loved one's experience changed your life? These are things that are going to help people put their experiences on a timeline, a pre and post, and help them gain a little bit of traction and a little bit of structure in their story. And while you're doing that, it's important to be providing validation to them, making sure that you are understanding what they're saying. A great technique for this is to repeat back to what they've said and ask them, hey, did that sound like what you meant? And then, of course, to be acknowledging that what they're going through is real and that they might not go back to who they were before this experience, but they can move forward and they can achieve a new normal. And once you get to this stage, you can start to do things like gently suggesting organizational techniques. And it's going to be, case-by-case basis what they need, but things like note-taking, list creation, journaling, all of these techniques to help them prioritize their needs. The important thing here is taking these abstract challenges and these abstract things that are causing them frustration or harm in their lives and helping them get down into a physical plane and a real plane. It's really going to go a long way to bumping up from that just understanding and into organization and prioritization.
So lastly, we want to really help our mentees communicate their needs. So a narrative that we hear all the time, especially in the brain injury space, is that patients and caregivers have to be their own advocates. And it's frustrating for all to go through this, but for many, it can be the reality. We do want mentees realize what are specific needs that we address. We want to ask very specific questions.
So Grant has had some Wi-Fi troubles today, so I'm just going to jump in and finish out this slide here. But as Grant was saying,
for them.
Oh, Grant, if you're there, I think I'm just going to run this one while your Wi-Fi router catches up. We want to be asking specific questions like, what do you need to get through the day? What's the biggest thing missing from your experience right now? And then empower them with ownership over those questions. So you're helping guide them through the thoughts and through the problems and avoiding telling them exactly what to do, but rather helping them see answers to their questions by asking them multiple ways and from different angles so that you're not the one necessarily giving them what to do. There's times where that's appropriate, but you are helping them get their head wrapped around all of the different angles of their unique challenges and their problems to start to see what those solutions could be. And then you can build those strategies together. And the challenges of communicating can be anything from I don't know how to ask, or I don't know who to ask, or I don't know when to ask. And so that's what you want to be doing with the mentee is strategizing with them about work, school, friends, how they can make sure that they are forming allies, people that they can trust in this process, and ultimately getting from that plane of basic understanding to prioritization all the way to the point where they're able to communicate what they need to do. We do want this to be part of our group discussion in a little bit here. But I just wanted to acknowledge here that this is very difficult for both mentees and peer support volunteers to do. The best approach is definitely gentle in these 1, 2, 3. It's not going to be something that comes naturally to everyone, and that's okay. And if we can just get them a little bit closer to understanding how to advocate for themselves, you've done a phenomenal job for your mentee. So with that, we